Well, it turns out I could not have been more wrong. That was not the plumber pulling up. That was actually the neighbor's yard guy, you know, grass fertilizer kind of thing. Okay, so back to work. Yeah, without a doubt, I like this way better. So now this is going to be quite an interesting exercise because there's a few things that are going to be fun about this. First thing we have to do is get this all into the Toonz vector level so that we can just go ahead and get the thing inked. And then I think it's going to be interesting to play around with this motion blur effect. So let's do it. Let's go down into here, and here is the re-envisioned set of keys, which I can just move over here. This shot is no longer needed. I had made a copy because of how I thought I was going to do it. This shot, I'm just going to delete it. I'm going to be bold and get rid of it forever because I just don't think it was good enough. And we got to be ruthless, you know? Ruthless, all I say. All right, so now we're going to stretch this down here. And we got that. Sketch over top of it. So I think what we should probably do here, since we have this, well, actually, let's do it this way. Let's just take the main outline, grab our brush, and then I think we're going for, let's just go for mid-range everything. I'm just going to touch this, okay, which got rid of, added a new drawing for me automatically. If you don't know how to do that, the way you do that is in your preferences, file, preferences, under drawing, use XSheet as animation sheet. That means that whenever you start drawing in a column, it's going to automatically create new drawings. If you turn that off, sometimes you do want that off because maybe you're on frame 100 and you want to make some adjustment to a drawing that started on frame 1. Well, and the reason you want to do it at frame 100 is because there's other stuff in other levels that are affecting, how that level is interacting with it. So now if you start drawing, it's going to create a new keyframe. That's not what you wanted. In other words, it's going to erase your whole drawing and you're creating a new one. And that's not what you want. You wanted to make adjustments to the original drawing that started on frame 1. That's how you do it, is you have to disable use XSheet as animation sheet. So now, I think that it would probably be smart to turn the opacity of this guide layer down, and at this point, I should be able to just blitz out some outlines here. So this is a Toonz raster level. I have a little bit of smoothing turned on just to make it easier to get good clean lines. I don't like that. I don't like the way that. Let me turn the hardness down a little bit and see what that does. Okay, that's not too bad. Now we could really nitpick this, but again, this is going to go by really fast. 2 frames. Two frames, baby. So I'm just gonna actually, I wonder if, let me see what happens if I try this. I'm just gonna take a chance. Yeah, that doesn't work. Well, maybe if the hardness was turned up. Let me see. Nope. That's interesting. Oh, I see why. We need to turn the pressure on. I don't know. I usually don't do it this way. That actually might work pretty well. I think I like it. Okay, yeah, I'm going to erase this and redo it that way. What the heck? What's it matter? In fact, I'm going to turn my eraser up here. I'm going to do the eyebrows that way too. So why am I doing that? Just because I can. I'm just trying different techniques. So if we go back to the previous drawing, yeah, that's okay. I'm not happy with how pointed it is. or isn't actually, I should say. So again, you could argue that this is not maybe as anime-ish as we might want it to be. And I'm going to turn pressure back off. Set this back to 2 where it was. And that's, again, that's her hair. This would be her sexy nightgown. Uh-oh, that won't work. Alright, so I'm going to go Alt-0. Yeah, I don't like that at all. That's going to be a problem, I think. I don't know that it's going to be a problem, but I suspect it's going to be a problem. Yeah, that doesn't look right. Oh yeah, I'm going to have this. Okay, so if we turn pressure off, what did I have this at before? Just seems like we're kind of having a hard time getting a thick enough line here. Which is a little strange since, yeah, we'll see how well that fills. That may not fill well at all, but we'll find out. Okay. Okay, that's interesting. What the heck just happened? Why did it just move my drawing? I have literally no idea what just happened. Even here, you can see in the preview the drawing looks correct. I go here and it's not correct. Why? I have no idea at all. So I'm going to try grabbing this with the S key, dragging this back up. I can kind of figure out based on that. Why is it scaled though? It's like it's scaled up. That is bizarre. It's bizarre. Sorry, I don't want to pick on Opentoonz because I've been kind of having an Opentoonz love fest for the last few weeks, but that behavior is very weird. But we shall keep moving forward. Okay. And actually, before I do, I just want to see if this is going to turn out to be a pain. So I'm going to hit the F key. We're in normal mode, fill depth mode, blah, 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 blah. Uh-huh. Yep, exactly what I was concerned about. So if you go back here, it's a little bit strange because this is a Toonz raster level. And this looks pretty tight. I'm not seeing anywhere that it would leak out, except right here. Obviously it would leak into the hair zone, so let's just try that. And it still will not fill it properly. In fact, it's filling everything. Why? I have no idea what fill depth minimum and maximum are. So let's turn this down and see what happens. No change. Turn this up, see what happens. No change. So we're kind of back to Opentoonz basics insofar as Opentoonz being frustrating to use goes. Is it because of this? Okay, that's interesting. Let's just ponder this for a minute. This is not a Toonz vector level, it's a Toonz raster level, but it appears that Toonz is treating it as an infinite canvas. That's new. I thought only the vector levels had an infinite canvas. So this, if I'm correct, that would be the reason for our issue. Yep, sure enough. Okay. Maybe Toonz raster levels are infinite canvas as well. And the bad news is that means that the hair is not going to fill, nor is the pillow. Okay, yeah, I see what's going on. I see what's going on. I wonder if these frames are broadcast HD and this frame is full HD. You know, for my purposes, it doesn't matter. I mean, I just want to get the job done here, so I'm going to go ahead and do what it appears I need to do, which is just get that hemmed in there. Okay, and so if we're going to say, well, we got to draw her hair, okay. We're not going to see any of this, but I'm going to go ahead and close that so that I can use my pillow color. So I'm going to hit the K key to grab that, so it automatically grabbed the correct color from the palette. Alright, go back here, same thing again, K key, F key. Yeah, there's a problem. Let's look closer. Yep, there's the issue right there. Two issues actually. We need to close that off, and I'm going to do it the chimpiest way possible because again, it's not going to be seen. Alright, and then let's I'm just kind of sampling from the previous keyframe, so this should, nope, still no good. Still no good. Why? Ah, there it is. Yeah, this is the first time this has happened. Let me just check it. Okay, that was correct. So now I got to grab the right color. Didn't mean to do that. I hit the L key instead of the K. It's an easy mistake to make. Okay, so now I'm going to, because this is what we're going to see, right? So now, did we have this in shadow? Nah, we did on that side of the... Okay, again, same problem. This is really, really frustrating. I've never had this happen before. I wish I could, you know, maybe there's a way to crop this frame to the actual size of the camera. I just don't want to spend the next, you know, hour dinking around trying to figure out yet another one of Opentoonz idiosyncrasies just so I can actually get back to work and get the job done. I'd rather just kludge it, so that's what I'm doing. This is all kludges. I'm drawing things outside of what the camera can see just so that the stupid shapes can get filled. Okay, really annoying, but not ultimately that time consuming, which is a good thing. Here we got, okay, same problem again. F key. Maybe if we fill that right there. Patchy, patchy, patchy. Yep, that did it. Let's go back here. Okay, in this shot, we really don't have her nightgown. So it seems, I don't remember what color it was. So I think we better just do the right thing here and climb up out of this sub-X sheet, go way, way back here. Okay, so yeah, it was this pink color, so I'm just going to hit the K key. I need to be in the correct. Okay, so this is interesting. I'm definitely in the correct frame, or level. I'm in the correct level, and I'm hitting the K key to sample. It's because it's mesh deformed. That means I have to go into the image. Okay. And it's color 10. Okay, so let's go up out of here. Go down into here. I said go down into here. So we got to go way down here. Wait, did I? I'm sorry. Yeah, the sub-X sheet does start at frame 1, so that means I really should be here. And color 10, which looks like I sort of guessed was the correct one. We also need to put a little shadowy thing there. Ultimately, what we really want is a little more correct shadowing. I mean, as long as we're here, I guess let's do it. That would look something like this. I want to put a line there. Now we could have just added a black. We could have added a black, another level. Just paint the shadows in black and then use post effects to set the tint and the transparency of it correctly. But I'm just, at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter which way you do it. That looks great. So now we can go here. Okay. And that's interesting because her hair doesn't move. So that's kind of bad news because it suggests that we really should have put that we really should have put it in the same what am I trying to say? Ideally, that shadow would have been integrated into the first drawing we did so that when we made the variation of the drawing, the shadow would already be there. We don't have that benefit. So what can we do? Well, the smart thing to do would be this. Hit Control Z and get rid of it. And let's go ahead and create a, probably this could just be a raster level. So I'm going to hit the B key here and just draw. Okay, so now Toonz has inserted a raster level. And that way I can use that as an overlay for shadows. So we'll call this AK for Akari shadows. The reason I make the titles cryptic is because what shows up in the schematic view. Okay, what just happened? The schematic view. I'm having a heck of a time today with just stupid, idiotic stuff. Okay. The schematic view only shows a limited length title and it also abbreviates it for you. So I personally think that's on the stupid side, but it is what it is. So by giving it a dorky but brief title, it makes it relatively easy to find in the schematic view. Obviously, the letters in the schematic view do show up as yellow in the schematic view when it's selected, so that's helpful. But here's what we're going to do. We're going to grab this big brush, and hopefully it's big enough. I guess I probably should check the color. Yeah, I'm going to set the color to black. But if you notice, I set the transparency, or the opacity, I probably should say, of the whole level to quite a bit lighter. So what's going to happen here is I can put in these shadows and they're going to, so these lines are actually black, but because they're semi-transparent, they're going to, I guess what I'm trying to say here is that by making it actual black, I don't introduce the problem of subsequent strokes making it darker. I don't want it to be darker. I only want there to be one tone, one shadow tone. And like I said, I want this shadow tone to be, whoops, that's actually kind of cool. I want this shadow tone to, or shadow frame, to propagate, I don't like that at all, from until she really moves. In other words, when she moves her eyebrows and her eyes, we just want to keep the same shadow frame. There's no reason to tweak it other than, well, I guess that's not true. if we're going to put the shadow on her eyes, let me just ponder this for a minute. Are we gaining anything from those shadows on her eyes? I'm going to say, I think in this case, I'd rather just dispense with that. I think I'd rather just dispense with that. Yeah. Okay, and as long as we're going to be here and do it, let's do it everywhere that we think it's going to be necessary. Okay, probably here as well. So that looks pretty good. Now, in all reality, we can dial in the opacity of that shadow to whatever degree we want, and it's going to be necessary in the schematic view to add a post effect that allows us to set the opacity upon render, because if we actually go to the render mode, which is the preview, then this is what it looks like, which is obviously not going to work. So anyway, this is a good way to do shadows. That's that. Okay, so now we should be okay here until we get to here. Alright, and now here we're going to just add another frame. I'm going to turn off this preview. Okay, so now we can jump between our drawings. Okay, this is one thing I truly hate and despise and loathe and detest about Opentoonz. You click away from a level, when you come, you don't even have to select a different brush. Just by virtue of having clicked away from it, when you click back, it jumps to the default brush for that level, which to me is like utterly mindless. You know, on what parallel universe would you ever want that behavior, right? You're welcome to disagree. That's my opinion. I'm sticking to it. So now this level, it would appear, is relegated to the size of the camera. So go figure, folks. I don't quite get it. I just don't get quite how the decisions are being made, I guess, that Opentoonz is making. Now, I do definitely need to adjust this. It's a little bit. I probably should turn the hardness back up so it's sharp. This is an anime after all. Okay. That's cool. Cool, cool, cool. So now we got to turn our preview back on, because what we actually need to do is hit a dot, and a dot, so that we just had Opentoonz go ahead and create those keyframes for us, so that we're not distracted with the previous drawing when we go back here. Okay, so main outline. If we go 3, we've got pressure turned off. Sorry. You gotta look closer to see what this. Now it looks like a pretty good line, actually. So, and that line's gonna be 3. So, oh no, it's not. 2 is. It's still 2. So, okay. So now my question is, yeah, we're drawn outside the lines again. So. It is unfortunate, but it is what it is. There's been lots of times when I would have wanted that behavior. And it's not like it's hard to get. You just have to plan ahead by telling Opentoonz exactly how large you want the level to be in terms of its resolution, pixel resolution. Okay. Alright, let's go boom, boom. That looks pretty good. So now what I'm going to do is, I said, what did I set this at? I don't remember. I'm going to set it at 10 just for kicks and grins, and put pressure on, and that should allow me to, okay, and stupid Opentoonz jumped to a completely different color. Why? Not a clue. Not a tiny clue. By the way, that really needs to be a little longer. Ah! Okay. This is another thing with Opentoonz. I'm sitting here adjusting this, and it's like, it seems like it's a little wider at the widest when I'm pressing hard, but it's not. It doesn't feel like the change I made is really taking, and in fact it wasn't. And then, 20 minutes later, all of a sudden it takes. It's like, what in the world? This kind of stuff is, it's understandable how such things happen from a programming standpoint. What's not easy to understand is how nobody catches it. How does it slip by the developers? They never test this? That's what happened. That's exactly what happened before. It saved it, and then it moved everything. Golly, this is bizarre. This is bizarre. Friends, I've never seen this kind of behavior ever with Opentoonz. Not one time have I seen anything like what I'm getting here today. And by the way, okay, yeah, we got to be here. And so the size of the, I just don't want to take the time to figure this out right now. I just want to get my work done. Why is it resizing the frame and moving it? It's like freaking insane. And the only way I can fix it that I imagine will work is to do that. Wow. Well, welcome to the world of animation software. People ask me all the time, you gonna try Blender 2.8? Grease pencil? You gonna try Toon Boom? You tried Toon Boom? Let me tell you something. Every single piece of animation software out there is like what you're seeing here today. They all have bizarre idiosyncrasies that just make it not a lot of fun to get your work done. And that means the professional apps too. I mean, I've used TV Paint, I've used Toon Boom, I've used Anime Studio. They all have their good points and they all have their quirks. So when I'm complaining about Opentoonz quirks, believe me, the solution is not to jump ship necessarily, and there is a time to jump ship, but I mean, this strange behavior is just part and parcel of what you get with animation software. It's a weird thing. It's like the for some reason animation software. Okay, what just happened? I see. Okay. That's where my line is. I see. When I went like this, the borderline disappeared, so I couldn't see that I was actually still at the top. So with that, I'm going to have to put this line in here so that I can put this line in here. Yeah, the thing that's concerning with all the buggy behavior here is that it makes me tend to start working fast because I just want to get it over with in a way. And then as a result, I'm at risk of taking shortcuts that will make, I'm redoing this animation here. Well, it's not going to do me any good to redo the animation if the new version sucks just as bad as the original did, right? The whole point is to fix things and improve it. So Okay, so like I said, we're gonna see as far as the, I'm just gonna do her eye like this. Now this keyframe is going to go by really fast, and it's also going to be juiced up with some motion blur. So my expectation is that we're really going to get away with murder on this particular frame in terms of leaving details out. It shouldn't matter. Okay, so, and then we get over here, and once again, so that we don't drive ourselves so crazy that we want to claw out our own eyeballs, we will go ahead and just draw it all the way over here, because guess what, folks? If we don't draw outside the frame here, Opentoonz will not fill our shapes, because it's definitely demanding closed shapes to fill. And again, one useful thing in this particular case is that we are going to be cutting. I mean, this is actually literally on the screen for one frame, 1/24th of a second. So the whole thing's going to blow by pretty fast. Now, does this really look like a Kari? No, it doesn't. Let me be perfectly blunt about that. This does not look like a Kari. I see what's going on here. That's the sketch. Okay. For a second there, I thought I was putting my outlines on the wrong level. Fortunately, not the case. So I'm going to go back here now, and just because it's my habit to do so, I'm going to sample a correct frame, and now I need to look, and I can see basically this right here appears to be a problem. That's closed, that should fill, and it will not. Therefore, we're going to try to see if we can figure out why it will not. Is this closed? Yes, this is closed, 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 closed. Is that closed? We're not really sure. Is there something open in her skin here? Doesn't seem to be, and yet the whole thing fills. So, what about that? That same thing again. Okay, I see what the problem is. I see what the problem is. The problem is the pillow. Okay, so bizarre as it is, and really unfortunate, because we're having to spend tons of time today on stuff that we shouldn't be doing at all. Complete, utter, absolute waste of time here. But it's either that or completely re-envision the entire level and do it all over and lose all the work that I did in order to save myself from having to sacrifice about, a minute or two every time I go to color a frame. Okay, so now what do we got? This is her skin. So there's all the skin area. All right, and actually, as long as we're here, let's fix this as well. So I'm just going to go like this, and even though I shouldn't have to, I'm going to go all the way out to the edge here. All right, so that I can then see if this will fill. Will anything fill? Is there anything that's going to fill today, one wonders? Okay, so here's our problem. You probably saw it before I did, but actually these lines need to extend all the way down. Fill this stupid thing. All right, and we're going to want to add actually, we'll do shadows the way we did it before. So that means this is going to be the hair color, I believe. Let's hit the K key. Go to the next frame, hit the F key. Okay, finally things are starting to fill properly. Go to the previous frame, K key, next frame, fill. And of course I hit the click before I changed to the F key. Therefore, insanity. All right, here we go. Fill that, fill that. Okay, so actually, for all my complaining, that was not too horrible, but we do want to go in and deal with the shadows. So here we've got, okay, so this is interesting. Okay. This is interesting. So why are we seeing... Ah, that's the sketch. This is what we want to turn on. Okay, and now we need to go like this so that we're not... so we're not actually going outside of the frames. So here's what we need to do. The same thing again. We need to go B key, boom, B key, boom, B key, boom. So that those keyframes are already in there and we're not spinning our wheels. B. Okay, so now what we should be able to do is get some shadows in here. And those look pretty good, pretty quick, pretty easy. Just gonna take a looky-poo here. Okay. Yeah, it's weird. It's like, I wonder if Opentoonz has some settings that relate to the angle of your brush or something like that, because it seems like depending on how I have the stylus turned, kind of dramatically affects the width of the brush and whatnot. Okay. Okay. Yep, I'm going to shade that into... Okay, and I actually want a little more of a... And actually, I think not. I think not. Let's leave that one off. That's a skosh, just a little kiss of it there. Okay, let's see if we can keep moving forward. I'm not the most optimistic I've ever been, but we're going to give it a crack. So the first thing we need to do is see if her skin will color in. And it did! Oh my gosh, but that didn't. Of course it didn't. So let's go to here and see why. And we see that indeed, that's not going all the way to the edge. That's got to be closed. This idiocy has to be closed. Closed, closed, closed. I think that did the trick. Fill. And it did not do the trick. Okay, why not? Because maybe this. Okay, so that closes now. That fills now. Man, this has been driving me bananas today. Definitely a major pain in the rumperilius. Okay, and then I believe this was... Nope, that was not color 10. The pillow, K key, sample it, is color 13. Okay. I should probably label these colors. Okay. So now that looks pretty good. And then the question is... Oh yeah, I guess we got to get this one. Will this work? No. Okay. Same problem as before. Let's go to the skin tone because we utterly don't care a whit about the rapid and idiotic looking patching that we're doing, because all we care about is will it fill or not. That fills, that won't fill. Why won't it fill? Well, let's look closer. Well, maybe this little spot has something to do with it. Gee, do you think? Maybe. And what about this completely stupid looking outline? What happens if we try to fill this? Nope. Nope. Here's why. Even though I patched this, I didn't patch it completely. Yep, there we go. Patch, patch. Or color, color, I should say. And now the pillow will not fill. Of course it won't fill. Alright, so that means that somewhere along this path, Man, I swear this process today is literally taking at least twice as long as it should, just because of this ridiculous problem of it not cropping to the camera view. Okay, so now I'm going to add this, and what I want to do is go back here, and actually I want to go ahead and crop this, and let's just do the shadows in order to be roughly complete with it, even though this shot is going by really fast. I mean super fast. And I actually think, now that I'm looking at this, that's kind of suggesting that that's her breast there, if the truth be known. So I probably should. Okay, and of course that won't fill. So once again, we have to spend all kinds of fun time looking at why, and this would appear to be the reason why right there, and indeed I was correct. So now I can go ahead and crop that. And yeah, through most of this animation process, I think I've been pretty chill. But man, this today has been just literally not fun. So, okay. So now the question is, what are we going to do about this? What I'm going to do is turn this back on and turn the opacity of it up. Okay, and then what I'm going to actually do is delete these. So I'm going to go to this frame, and I'm going to turn on the eraser, and I'm literally going to erase the sketch. And the reason I'm erasing this sketch is I'm going to use this raster level to put in the motion blur effect that I was talking about. So actually, I think what I'm going to do is move that up. Okay. And let's see. Oh, maybe that won't work, actually. Okay, so we need to be able to see what the... Okay, so what I think here is that I'm going to go ahead and in here, I'm going to use this brush, and I'm going to sample this color. Okay, so if this works properly, yeah, it did work properly. So now I should be able to go up one frame, and I can see. And of course, as usual, Opentoonz switched away from the brush that I had selected for no apparent reason, because I opened that other frame. You know, I know that doesn't, what I just said makes no sense, but I think you understand what I'm trying to say. I'm just trying to move too fast because, you know, it's a matter of I want to move fast in the sense that I know my software and I simply do what I intend to do. Not today with Opentoonz. No, no, no. Not even close. You can't do what you intended to do because you have to deal with bizarre behaviors. Okay, I tell you what I'm going to do. I'm just going to set the preview range here for as a stop marker and start marker. I have no idea if that motion blur thing's going to work at all. I think not, but let's just play the darn thing and see what we have. Looks good, looks good. Okay, okay. Actually, yeah, because it's going to cut away from it that quick. As far as I'm concerned, I'm done. Okay, so File, Save All. And now I should be able to climb up out of this sub-X sheet. Ooh, little detail. Very important. I got to go to the schematic. And let's take the shadow layer, which is right here. There's the shadow. And let's rename this. I wonder if we can rename it from here. Nope. So just because you might be watching, I'm going to switch this and call this Akari. Okay. That way when I go back to the... There it is. Akari. And there's the shadow layer. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to insert layer blending INO. And I'm thinking for this one, I'm going to go for multiply. Okay. And foreground, background, that should be taken off. And then what we want to do is, let's jump back to here and you can see what will happen. Okay, yeah, that's pretty good. So what I need to do is now take the multiply, which is this, and turn it all the way down. Okay, so that's cool. So now if we just turn it up to about there, that looks pretty good. And I guess the good thing about doing the shadow as a post effect is that you could always add a little blur to it or something if you wanted to. So that looks pretty good. That looks pretty good. So I'm going to jump up out of there. And if I'm not in preview mode, it's going to look like that, which is pretty bad. But so I'm going to set the start marker here. I'm going to set the stop marker here. Alright, and then I'm going to, in preview mode, I'm going to go ahead and let it cache these frames, so that I can really see what this is going to look like when it plays. Okay, and now, once again, bizarre behavior. Even though I set a start marker, I set an end marker, and if I was in regular mode like this, I'm pretty sure Opentoonz will respect my stop and my start marker. But if I go into preview mode so that I can see what it's really going to look like, nope. Opentoonz is going to start at frame 1. It will not let me simply look at this preview range. What if I hit Control R? Let's see what that does. Okay, that seems to be working. Okay, so now I've got this screen, which is definitely in preview mode, and by the way, that generated really fast too. So I think that's what we actually want to do. Okay, lesson learned here, folks. When you want to do a preview range in final render mode, just hit Control R because it renders really fast. And if you want to, then you can save the frames here, which is kind of useful. So, golly, man, I may never preview. I mean, unless I'm previewing one frame, you just want to see it rendered, fine. But as far as a sequence, this is the way to do it. Hit Control R. Okay, so there she, then she flips over, and it's already cutting back to the other guy. So, and that's exactly what we wanted. All we want to do, all the audience needs to know is that she rolled over. Okay. So let's scan down here. Okay, I'm going to just jump to the end of it here, or close to the end of it. Alright, so I'm going to set my stop marker there and hit Control R again. And so you'll see how this flows. So she flips over, but then it's cutting right back to this guy. Come on, dude, let's get moving. This has got to be fixed up a little bit. But now she's flipped over, so we'll see the, in that last shot, we'll see the window behind her. So let's see. It's been almost an hour here, and I don't know how much time I had before I had to take a break, so I think I'm probably in the hour and a half range. So I think with that, I'm going to go ahead and stop for today. The only thing I'm going to do, though, just so everybody's on the same page, is I'm going to jump to frame 978 and set a stop marker. I'm going to go to frame 1 and set a start marker, and then I'm going to hit Control R. Okay, so if I was doing a quote-unquote final render, I would hit Shift Control R, and then Opentoonz would invisibly, well, I mean, there's a dialog that pops up, but you don't actually see the render happen, and it generates all the image files into the destination that you choose. In my experience, that's pretty slow, and it tends to crash a lot. On the other hand, if I just hit, actually, and I don't really want that onion skin there. Let me go down and get rid of that. Okay, so if I just hit the L key to preview this whole scene. Okay, that's interesting. So let's go back up here, and for some reason our first, yeah, that was turned off. Okay, so fine. So now the regular rough preview is fast, but if I put this in preview mode like that, it's not fast. It's very clunky. And if I hit Control-Shift-R to render the thing offline, so to speak, that's really slow. What isn't slow, and I don't have any idea why, is just hit Control-R. And now, what it appears to have done is created, it's rendered the whole thing. And I can go back to the beginning, and it's actually seems to be caching it into memory way faster. So look at that. Look how fast that's going. That's 1,000 frames almost that are now sitting in memory, and I can save the images. I'm going to try it. I'm going to try it and just see what happens. Okay, it's going to take a minute for Opentoonz to show me the saved as dialog. But once that happens, I mean, if we can do it this way, that's really cool. The question that's coming to my mind is, what if I were to preview, say, frames 100 through 200? If I save them, is it going to number them 100 through 200, or is it going to take any segment of the animation that I pre-render like this and start it at frame 1? That's really going to be an important little detail. Okay, so for some reason, okay, that's interesting. So I hit Save Images, and just want to see here. Okay. And it's saving it as a ping. So I'm going to say, I'm going to call this test render. So this is actually cool too, because it lets me set the name of it to whatever I want. Whereas normally, I don't really probably have to explain this to you, but normally if you're going into your save as settings or your output settings, you indicate all that in advance. I really like the idea of being able to do it on the fly here like this. So let's see if this works. I hit save, and it says it's saving the previewed frames. That's exactly what I want it to do. Now it's actually saving this through the network, which is going to be slow-ish, onto a RAM drive, which is going to be fast-ish, but the bottleneck is going to be network throughput, and this is a lot. This is 1,000 full-size HD ping images, so this is going to take a while. I'm going to say let's cancel that, and we will do it. So anyway, the lesson or the takeaway today would be when you want to preview what you've really got, just hit Control-R and do it that way. So now I'm going to try this again, but this time I'm going to save it on my local drive. And I'm going to check over here. See, I don't know why. It did the same thing twice. Yeah, see, now it pops open. So I'm going to go to L, Anime, Image Out. Yeah, let's do Image Out. Okay, so let's go, we'll give it the same name, although I think I put a dash in it before, but I'm going to call it Test Render. This should save more quickly, I think. Let's find out. It's got to save, I think, 978 frames. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and open up this folder, and yeah, that's pretty slow. So it's very slow, but it's not crashing either. So I really like that method for saving out your animation. Now it is interesting that this active window that's showing me what's going on, that Windows does not want to let me close it, apparently. So it kind of seems like Opentoonz is kind of locking up the system. I'm going to address that right now. I'm going to see if I can address that. I'm going to open the Task Manager, and I've kind of showed you guys this before, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to go here, and I'm going to go to the details for Opentoonz, and I'm going to set its affinity to only these 4 processors, And then I'm going to take the Windows Explorer if I can here. Let's see if we can find the Windows Explorer right here. Let's go to its details and let's set its affinity to processors 0 and 1. Okay. So now, theoretically, see what happens? See what I mean? Opentoonz is kind of boggy on the CPUs it's using, but you'll notice now the Windows Explorer is free to roam because the multi-core or symmetric multiprocessing that is managed by Windows completely sucks. It's as stupid can be. But at least they do give you this option. You can go into the task manager and tell Windows, no, I want this application to be on these CPUs and that application to be on those CPUs. And if you do that, what I've learned is, number one, the CPU intensive operations that you were doing on 12 cores that you're now only doing on 4 is no slower. It doesn't slow down. Okay? And number two, you could have multiple instances of Opentoonz running on different CPU cores. They won't fight with each other. You won't get crashes. And this and that. I mean, I shouldn't say you won't get crashes because you still could, but I'm saying that if you manually enforce the way that your CPUs are used, you can introduce a lot of stability and get rid of a lot of, like, I'm still moving this Windows Explorer. You know, this Explorer window is on CPUs, I think it was 0 and 1, and Opentoonz is on the last 4 CPUs. And everything else on the system that's running now is kind of spread among the CPUs the way Windows decides to do it. And the way Windows decides to do it is stupid. There's no other word for it. It's completely stupid. Because what and believe me, I've dealt with some pretty high CPU activity, you know, with trying to render multiple videos all at the same time, and stuff like that. And you gain 0 speed. 0. You don't gain it. If you take this application, or you take Sony Vegas, Blender, I don't know for sure about Blender because Blender sort of manages multi-CPU scenarios, I think, itself. But with most of these applications on Windows, if you have a program running on 1 CPU versus 10 CPUs, doesn't matter. It will not speed up. Because, and you can't blame Windows for that entirely, because it would require the software developers to program symmetric multiprocessing into the application. But the takeaway for me is this question: what then is the value of having multiple CPUs? It would be stability. So for me, the Windows operating system should actually operate in round-robin mode. In other words, if I run an application, it should be assigned to a single CPU, or maybe 2. But since Windows doesn't manage multiple CPUs very well at all, you might as well put it on 1. And then if you open 5 or 6 applications, they're each on their own CPU. You would see the stability of Windows increase dramatically instantly. But no, Windows manages that for you. So if you don't know how to do what I just did, which is go into the task manager, find the process, and then set its affinity, which tells you what CPUs is it going to run on. If you don't do that, Windows will manage it for you, and what you'll wind up with is 5 programs, 6 programs that are all running on the same CPUs, and Windows is having to manage that. Oh, you know, because it's on all 12. This program's on all 12, so is that one. So how are we going to shift our tasks? Because we got to do task switching. Because there is nothing happening symmetrically. You know, in other words, in tandem. It's actually, in truth, it's actually switching back and forth. It's just doing it so fast you don't notice it. And by the way, that task switching is expensive. You know, computationally, it's expensive to switch tasks. You've got to take the current task you're operating with and store it in memory. You know, I'm speaking layman's terms. You got to take that entire process, set it aside, grab the other process it for a while, set it aside, go grab the other one. When you manually put different applications on different CPUs, that disappears. Each application just runs on its own core, and performance goes up, stability goes up. So anyway, that's kind of the tip of the day. So yeah, it's saving the frames, you know, on the slowest side, but frankly, I don't care. as long as it's saving them. And then I can go into my edit in Sony Vegas and re-import this particular image sequence. And then if I need to, I can break it up into pieces. If I need to do a little extra color correction on one or the other, you know, it's not a big deal. So anyway, I think with that, I'm going to call it a day. It's been an hour plus whatever I did in my first session, and I will be back at it next time.